He's never given me an indication that he is interested in boys or sexual attraction to boys. It's the complete opposite.
So even under the influence of narcotics?
Even under the influence, he's not like that, Cynthia. It's disgusting. He's not a pedophile.
And Gavin was the one that asked him, "Could I call you Daddy?" And Michael said, "Of course." And so, through him, it sparked Star and Davelin calling him Daddy Michael. Very innocent and beautiful relationship, which everyone has spun it out of control. It's a wish come true. For example, to see my children interact with an ideal role, a father role model. He plays with them, laughs with them. He lets them win.
He wrestles with them.
He makes jokes with them.
Go on the rides together.
He shows them.
Watch movies together.
He shows them the basic foundation of what life is, and that's a loving family. The stronger your foundation, the higher your building is.
My first impression was that he's a very loving, caring, humble man. He took us under his wing when nobody else would. He didn't turn us away like all the people were doing. And he gave my brother the extra little spark he needed in his mind, because my brother was to the point where he couldn't even move. He couldn't even talk. And he gave my little brother so much.
He's a very, very nice, kind person. He wouldn't hurt anybody. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He can do anything.
Nothing?
No.
Kissing, hugging?
He's hugged me, but that's his friendly hug. Yeah, you know, there's been different times where it'll just be me and Michael. Then there'll be other times where he has other friends over, too. That's what, like what Brett said, it's just a slumber party. We just have a lot of fun. We just tell him the truth, and that's it. I love Michael very dearly. He's the best role model, best friend I've ever had. It's a huge bed. He sleeps on one side, I sleep on the other.
How did you feel when you heard that a boy was alleging that Michael had abused him?
I was shocked, too, and I think it's sick, because I know Michael well enough that he wouldn't do anything like that. I know that for a fact.
Michael was defended by not only Wade, but also by his mother and his older sister.
And, you know, I've slept in the same bed as Michael. It's just you watch cartoons, you fall asleep. You know, it's just a friendship. And I know he would never do anything to hurt my brother. He's the nicest guy you've ever met.
People always are saying stuff about Michael, and it's just another allegation that he has to put up with. Knowing what sort of a childhood Michael had, he would never cause any distress to a child.
You don't have a problem with that?
I have never had a problem with that. I trust Michael implicitly. I see how he is with my children.
I've been there when these kids have been in Michael's room. I've been there with them. It's just party time. They watch videos, they eat junk food, they play video games. They play so hard. They fall asleep. They're exhausted. They fall asleep.
From your standpoint, does it seem unusual for a 34-year-old man to have kids sleeping over?
Not when you know Michael's background. Under normal circumstances, possibly yes. But Michael, everybody knows he didn't have a childhood. He impresses on me constantly that it's very important that Wade does have a childhood because he's in the same industry. You just develop that trust with him immediately. He's just a very special person. Well, Michael's like family to us.
Michael was not a child molester. Michael has zero interest in touching children. It's disgusting, and I'm so disgusted when the media portrays him like this, where they take something so pure and innocent and try to make it ugly. He is zero. He's just not interested in hurting a child. He would rather cut his own wrist than hurt a child. But Michael never once, not once, ever invited a child to stay in his room. Not once did he say, "Oh, why don't you stay with me tonight?" Not once. Not once. The kids I know myself, we wanted to stay with him. We wanted to be around him. He was like Willy Wonka and the chocolate. We just, wanted to be around him. He had this energy, this aura that you just, you just want to be around him because he makes you happy, he motivates you. He was such a beautiful person and such a light. And Michael's been, unfortunately, Michael's the biggest entertainer that ever lived. And he's probably the most recognizable face, name in the world, at least in the top 5. So when you're on top, no matter who you are, they always try to bring you down. And it's been a constant pattern. And, they attack, first and foremost, they attacked Michael for what he loves the most and what he's so passionate and sincere about is helping children. And he got his inspiration from children. And they took that and attacked him and used it against him. Michael Jackson's not a pedophile. He has no interest in boys, and that's disgusting, and that's so inaccurate. And that's why I wrote, one of the reasons why I wrote this book, because I wanted to make sure and make it clear to the world, for Michael's legacy, that this man is not a pedophile. He has some eccentricities, from the outside looking in. Yes, it might look different, but this man is not a pedophile.
This is probably one of the most important videos that I've made. If you think so too, please drop a like or a comment and share it with a friend. This video is a defense of Michael Jackson directly from his accusers before they ran out of money. Evan Chandler and his lawyer were both behind on child support and both suffered cases of misconduct in their professions. The Safechuck's family company were sued 2 days before James Safechuck sued the MJ estate. On March 28, 2005, Judge Rodney Melville had already ruled that evidence as to Jimmy Safechuck will not be permitted. From the early stages of the trial, the court decided James Safechuck was a non-entity since there were no allegations in his regards, no witnesses, and because Safechuck himself stated under oath that he had never been molested.
He felt that he saw the warmth and how we respected Michael for who he was, and how he just didn't want us to be that family that goes out and talks about Michael Jackson, and we never did that.
We wanted to give Michael that opportunity to know that we weren't there to, for who he was as a celebrity, that we were really there to be a family for him and to get him through all his bad times that he's been through, because we knew him before the bad times, and when the bad times came,
bad times, you meaning charges of sexual molestation?
We weren't going to turn our backs on him, and we stood there and we said, we're with you all the way, and he appreciated, and we did it.
Well, I have to ask the questions because obviously there were bad times, accused of sexual molestation. You had 2 young boys, a young daughter. Did you ever ask your children if any improprieties had occurred with them?
As a father, I did.
As a father, you did.
And they looked at me like, "Are you serious?" I mean, but I had to do it.
We had to explain it to him, the kids, what was going on. They didn't understand it
at the time.
Right.
So I have to ask you, Frank, Marie, Nicole, were there ever any improprieties with you and Michael Jackson?
Never. Michael couldn't harm a fly. I mean, he's such a kind and gentle soul.
So when you heard those charges and heard those charges then again, and he went on trial for those charges, what did you think?
This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Terrible.
Michael was a target, and unfortunately, he was targeted.
So at no time did you ever feel during all of those charges against him that your children were not safe with him? Never.
Never a doubt.
Did he continue to come to your home and be with your family after he had his own children?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. We were there when the kids were born, and we were there. I mean, and he was so happy, and and...
Like physically there?
Yeah, physically there. And...
would he bring the children to your house?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. He trusted no one but us to even, he wouldn't leave the kids with no one but other than the nanny, and we were the other family that he left the kids with.
We now turn to the Michael Jackson trial, just wrapping up. You recognize Jackson, of course, here in calmer times. The other face in this portrait is likely unknown to you, but Frank Tyson is thought to be one of Jackson's closest friends. They met when Tyson was just 5 years old, and he's admittedly slept in Jackson's bed. For more than 2 decades, Frank Tyson has never spoken publicly about their relationship, until now, despite numerous financial offers. He has stood by Michael Jackson for 20 years. His loyalty never in question. His dedication total. He is a man prosecutors call threatening, and Michael Jackson calls a friend. Today, in closing arguments, prosecutors called Frank Tyson Michael Jackson's closest associate, a man they say used chilling tactics to help Jackson cover up his relationship with a cancer-stricken 13-year-old boy. You are at the center of these allegations against Michael Jackson.
So they say.
According to prosecutors, Tyson was willing to go so far for his friend Michael Jackson that he allegedly conspired to kidnap the accuser and his family, hold them hostage at Neverland, and take them all out of the country to Brazil. Prosecutors even alleged that Tyson was so desperate to keep the family quiet that he literally threatened to have them killed. The indictment states that between February and March of 2003, you threatened the accuser, telling him, quote, "I could have your mother killed," end quote.
No, Cynthia. I would never say that. It's not me. And that's what's so frustrating for me to watch every single day. Frank Tyson threatened to kill this family. Frank Tyson wants this family disappeared like I'm Frank Tyson from Jersey from The Sopranos. Come on, man. It's crazy. I'm not that person.
But Tyson is a person in a position to know a great deal about Michael Jackson. At the very height of Michael Jackson's fame, when Thriller was the best-selling album in the world, Frank Tyson, a small boy from a middle-class home in New Jersey, stepped into his own kind of Neverland. He was just 5 years old when his father, who worked with VIPs at this hotel in New York, brought him to meet Michael Jackson.
My father says, "We want to meet Michael Jackson." I'm like, okay, who's Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson started calling Tyson's father, and before long, Jackson and the young boy had formed an improbable friendship. In fact, in some ways, your family became his family.
In certain ways, yes. In many ways.
Tyson's exuberant Italian family embraced the superstar, including him in every Christmas and Thanksgiving for the past 12 years. Jackson even called Tyson's grandmother Grandma. He comes to your house and stays at your house.
Yeah, he does.
What was that like?
It's funny, he used to come visit whenever he comes to New York when we were kids. He used to come like 10:30 at night or 11 at night. I knock on the door, and all of a sudden he'd just come and surprise my family.
After a while, Frank and his family began taking trips to see Jackson in Neverland, and like other boys before and after, sometimes slept in Jackson's bed. So how did it happen the first time that you spent the night in this room? What happened?
What happened? You really want to know?
Yep.
My brother and I slept in the bed, and he stayed on the floor. That's what happened.
So, were your parents at all concerned about your spending the night?
Never. There was no reason to be concerned. There was no reason to be concerned. There was no cuddling or nothing like that. It wasn't like that. It was like sleeping with your college roommate.
But if those were innocent days, they would soon be lost in a swirl of allegations against Jackson. In 1993, the singer was accused of molesting a 13-year-old boy. Jackson turned to the 14-year-old Tyson and his family for support, flying them around the world as he continued on tour. They often went out in public with Jackson, seen here in disguise. The 1993 charges were settled for a reported $20 million. It was around this same time that Jackson admitted an addiction to painkillers. I just wonder, since you acknowledge, since we know that Michael Jackson did have a drug problem, an addiction to painkillers, whether that changes your idea about whether or not all of his behavior with kids was appropriate. I mean, one wonders and worries.
No. I have seen him in different states. And even when he was in those states, Cynthia, he's never gave me an indication that he is interested in boys or sexual attraction to boys. It's the complete opposite.
So even under the influence of narcotics?
even on the influence, he's not like that, Cynthia. It's disgusting. He's not a pedophile.
Focus for a moment, not on the screaming crowd, not on the superstar with the mask, but on the young man standing next to him, backing him up as he has for most of his life. As you will hear, Frank Tyson is either part of what prosecutors call a continuing cover-up, or he is telling a powerful truth. As we sit here today, Michael Jackson stands accused of multiple counts of sexually molesting a child. You know the accuser.
I do know the accuser.
Tell me about him.
He was from the street, this kid.
It was at Neverland that Frank Tyson met the boy who now accuses Jackson of molesting him. Tyson would meet the boy and his mother many times.
He's not like a shy little boy. He is a tough kid. If anyone pushes him the wrong way or touches him, he used to be the first one to push you back. He would be the first one to knock Michael out and say, hell with this, I'm not doing this.
Prosecutors allege Jackson molested the then 13-year-old boy, relaxing him with wine he called Jesus juice. But Tyson says the first time the accuser and his younger brother slept in Michael Jackson's bedroom, it was actually the boy's idea.
They came to Michael. Michael, could we stay in your room? Michael, could we please stay in your room? And Michael's like, takes me aside, and he says to me, Frank, if they're staying in this room, you're staying in this room too. And you know what? I actually stayed in his room. The two kids slept in the bed. There was Michael on the floor here, and I was on the floor here.
See, but Frank, this is what doesn't make sense to those of us on the outside. This is a huge estate. Plenty of bedrooms, plenty of rooms for everybody. Why are you guys sleeping on the floor, and why are two kids sleeping in his bed? That doesn't seem odd to you.
No, it's like having a sleepover with a bunch of friends all in one room, watching movies, doing this.
But this time, the sleepover involved a 44-year-old superstar and a 13-year-old boy, who, along with his brother, claimed that Tyson showed them that very night pornography on the internet. Tyson says that's a lie. He says he and Jackson were out of the room when the boys found the pornographic site.
The first thing, Frank, Michael, look what we found.
They found the porn
They
sites.
found the porn sites. In fact, Michael brought me aside. He said, Frank, they can't do that. Not with me in this room. I do not want this coming back on me.
So what happened?
So we took him off the porn site.
The allegations are that Michael Jackson drinks wine out of Coke cans and that he then gave the kids both wine and hard liquor. Were you ever present when Michael Jackson gave either the accuser or his brother alcohol?
Michael Jackson has never given anybody or forced alcohol on anybody. He would never do that.
So the portrait painted of inside Michael Jackson's bedroom as a place where he brought young boys, introduced them to pornography, sometimes molested them, gave them booze, is...
It's completely untrue.
Ever seemed odd to you that Michael Jackson always seemed to have a special boy who was his friend, always of about the same age, sort of the 12-year-old to 14-year-old age. Many of them looked very much alike. Dark eyes, dark hair. Never occurred to you that there was a pattern here?
No, there wasn't a pattern. It's what you're trying to create that's not real. It's not a pattern of him liking special little boys. No, I was his friend for over 20 years. Am I a pattern too? No. I'm still his friend? Yes.
Well, there would be people who would say you would fit the pattern very much.
I would fit the pattern?
Look at the pictures of the 1993 accuser. Look at the picture of the present accuser.
I'm going to tell you something. If Michael Jackson ever laid a finger on me, I would not be in this chair right now.
And what about Frank Tyson's own little brother, now 14, who Jackson reportedly calls Baby Rubba? Tyson says he also sees nothing wrong with him sleeping in Michael Jackson's bedroom. Do you want to say to your little brother, you know what, not such a good idea?
No. If I felt uncomfortable, don't you think I would be the first one to stop it?
And I just think there's certain things that we could give him, and we gave him, that, for instance, they were Jehovah's Witnesses. They didn't celebrate Christmases, birthdays, or anything. And he wanted that. He wanted to have that family, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and we did that with him. We celebrated almost every Christmas and Thanksgiving, birthdays, and things that in the Jehovah's Witness they don't believe in. But there's nothing wrong with that. He loved his mother, Catherine, to death. Like, he thought she was an angel, like, here on earth. And, he would get mad at us, if we would ever get mad at my mother, or, hear us yell back. He goes, "Don't you ever talk down to your mother or talk back to your mother. You have no idea who she was." And he really instilled in me to love and respect your mother and your father and your family.
What was your relationship like with Michael? What was the dynamic between you?
Jeez, it was like, it started, we had different phases in our relationship. It started when, obviously I was 4, and it was, almost, as the relationship evolved, it was almost like father, son, brothers, mentor. It had all the different aspects of a relationship. Growing up, he was, I always say this, he was the greatest teacher in the world. And
what did he teach you?
And yeah, from the outside looking in, how the media portrayed him and his love for children, they took something so pure and innocent, because Michael was so motivated and inspired, and he was sincerely sensitive to a child in need when they were in their deathbeds. He couldn't understand, why this little kid in a hospital had cancer and only had 1 month to live. And that's another thing, when every time we went on the road, anywhere we went, he made sure we went to children's orphanages, children's hospitals, for us to see how fortunate we are as human beings and people. And there's not a time where he would leave a children's hospital and seeing these kids, and he would just break down and start crying, and he'd get so sensitive to it. There wasn't a facade. Michael sincerely loved children for who they were and the inspiration that he brought them. And when he saw a child suffering, he broke down. He wanted to do everything in his power to help them. This was real. This was not anything else but pure sincerity and his love for children. Michael was not a child molester. Michael has zero interest in touching children. It's disgusting, and I'm so disgusted when the media portrays him like this, where they take something so pure and innocent and try to make it ugly. He is zero. He's just not interested in hurting a child. He would rather cut his own wrist than hurt a child.
In your book, you mentioned that, when you heard about the Jordan Chandler incident, you couldn't imagine Michael as a molester, nor could you imagine Jordy making such an accusation.
No, I couldn't. I met Jordy multiple times, and he seemed like a really nice kid. Like, there was nothing, he seemed really nice. I met his mother June and his sister, and I remember we were at Neverland one time, and my brother and I wanted to stay in Michael's room, and we asked, why doesn't Jordy stay? Because we're all hanging out, talking, like watching movies, and it's like, well, I don't know. I never, if he wants to come, he's more than welcome. But Michael never once, not once, ever invited a child to stay in his room. Not once did he say, "Oh, why don't you stay with me tonight?" Not once, not once. The kids, I know myself, we wanted to stay with him. We wanted to be around him. He was like Willy Wonka and the chocolate. We just, wanted to be around him. He had this energy, this aura that you just, you just want to be around him because he makes you happy, he motivates you. He was such a beautiful person and such a light and someone that you just want to be around.
So when you read those headlines for the first time and you knew it was Jordan Chandler, what did you think?
Well, I remember I was in New Jersey and I walked into the laundry room and I see my mother ironing and I see like tears running down her eyes and just, someone's upset, they iron even harder and I'm like, what's wrong? And she just starts ironing. Michael's in trouble. She's just ironing. Like, what do you mean Michael's in trouble? Because have you ever heard of a boy named Jordy Chandler? I said, yeah, Jordy's a really nice kid. Well, he's accusing Michael of child molestation. Like, what's child molestation? And she tells me something. She's like, has Michael ever, done anything inappropriate to you or touched you? I'm like, are you kidding? Like, absolutely not. And she's like, oh, we have to help him. We have to be there for him. And, when that very day when that hit, we called and reached out to him. He was on tour somewhere, on the Dangerous tour. And, my family, we knew.
Gavin came to Michael and said, Michael, can we sleep in your room tonight? And Michael looked at me and says, I don't know, I think you better ask your mother. Oh, we already asked our mother. She says, sure, no problem. I'm like, no, this is something's odd. This is not right. And then as I was about to go tell Gavin that he cannot sleep in Michael's room, Michael says, okay, I have a solution for this. You have to sleep in the room with me. The two children slept on the bed, and Michael and I slept on the floor. These were serious allegations, the most ridiculous allegations. Anyone who knows Michael is not a pedophile. I warned him about this family. I warned him about that mother. That mother, I read from a mile away. She had an agenda from day one.
What's the most misunderstood thing about Michael Jackson, you think, that you know him? Probably a number of things.
That I don't know, that anybody that lives that life is not going to be your average dude. You know what I mean? In the simple ways, I mean. Yeah. You live that kind of life and that sort of fame from 5 years old. You're not going to go about your everyday like everybody else because you've never lived a life like everybody else. So how would you know how to do that? Exactly. And I think people take those simple things and turn them into something, 10 times, 100 times more strange than they are.
One of the things I noticed about you, and this goes back to why I said you were a stand-up guy, we covered the trial, and you were one of the few people to stick up for him. Mm-hmm. And why do you think that was? And why was it important for you to stick up for him?
Because he's always been a friend to me. That's what you do for friends. You tell the truth,
How much did it hurt him? Do you think that people thought that because little boys were over, they would sleep in the bed, and they would take that as being something untoward would happen to these little boys? How much do you think it really took out of him?
I can't speak for him, but it would be an absolutely painful thing for anybody to go through.
During the trial, Joy Robson testified for the defense. She said, among other things, that they only traveled with Michael once, and that they only were at Neverland with Michael there 4 times in 14 years. And Wade Robson testified as well. Question: and are you aware, as you sit here today, that there's been allegations that Mr. Jackson molested you? Wade: yes. Mr. Robson: did Michael Jackson ever molest you at any time? Answer: absolutely not. Mr. Robson: did Michael Jackson ever touch you in a sexual way? Never. No. Mr. Robson: has Mr. Jackson ever inappropriately touched any part of your body at any time? Wade: no. Now regarding the Chandler family, they have never given any interviews or spoken publicly. So we won't spend much time on them. Everything that is mentioned in this video regarding the Chandlers is hearsay. July 9, 1993, Anthony Pellicano meets Jordan in Jackson's Century City condo without the singer being present. He asks the boy very specific questions about whether he has ever been molested or inappropriately touched by Jackson. Jordan Chandler denies all accusations. Jordan's father, Evan Chandler, became increasingly volatile, making threats that alienated Jackson, Dave Schwartz, and June Chandler Schwartz. In early July 1993, Dave Schwartz, who had been friendly with Chandler, secretly tape-recorded a lengthy telephone conversation he had with him. During the conversation, Chandler talked of his concern for his son and his anger at Jackson and at his ex-wife, whom he described as cold and heartless. When Chandler tried to get her attention to discuss his suspicions about Jackson, he says on the tape, she told him, "Go fuck yourself." "I had a good communication with Michael," Chandler told Schwartz. "We were friends. I liked him and I respected him and everything else for what he is. There was no reason why he had to stop calling me. I sat in the room one day and talked to Michael and told him exactly what I want out of this whole relationship. What I want." Chandler confronted his ex-wife with his suspicions. "She thought the whole thing was baloney," says her ex-attorney, Michael Freeman. She told Chandler that she planned to take their son out of school in the fall so they could accompany Jackson on his dangerous world tour. On July 9, 1993, Dave Schwartz and June Chandler Schwartz played the taped conversation for Pellicano. "After listening to the tape for 10 minutes, I knew it was about extortion," says Pellicano. That same day, he drove to Jackson's Century City condominium, where Chandler's son and the boy's half-sister were visiting. Without Jackson there, Pellicano made eye contact with the boy and asked him, he says, very pointed questions. "Has Michael ever touched you? Have you ever seen him naked in bed?" The answer to all the questions was no. The boy repeatedly denied that anything bad had happened. According to Jackson's FBI files, when prosecutors asked him to testify at Jackson's 2005 trial, Jordan refused, and he told them that he would legally fight any attempt to make him testify against Jackson. Jackson's attorney Thomas Mesereau said that he had witnesses whom he would have called if Jordan had testified. These witnesses were people who personally knew Jordan, and according to Mesereau, Jordan privately confided in them that Jackson never molested him. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.